think. 216-575-0403. We got the group from waitingfornextyear.com. Scott Sargent is here, Brendan Bowers, as well as Craig Lindell. And they will be here on a monthly basis, or at least some of the contributors. And how many hundreds of contributors do we have at Waiting for Next Year?
I think we're at 10, including our weekend guys who are awesome. And we have a couple guys that contribute here and there, just random pieces, and we post under our bylines. But there's about 9 or 10 core of us.
Now I'm really struck by Brendan's Twitter address, which is what?
It's at Stepien Rules.
Stepien Rules. Now, is that Stepien Rules as in, Mike Bratz, who part of the trading, or Bagley and Magley, or is it Stepien Rules, like he's the greatest?
No, it's like it's a play off the rule, and kind of like remembering the history of the Cavs. It's like trading away the rights to James Worthy.
You couldn't possibly have been born when he was doing that stuff, but the legend lives on, right?
The legend does live on. I mean, it's still an active rule. You hear it every, every draft. Oh wait, you can't do that. That's
yeah, but we had to live
rule.
through that, through the Stepien era.
No, I understand. It had to be tough for you.
Well, you know what? We said you have faith in the crew out at Berea. Do you have faith in Dan Gilbert and Chris Grant?
Yeah, I think I do. Just like Thursday's draft will be telling for the Browns, I mean, this upcoming draft this summer will be telling for the Cavs, how they shape their roster moving forward. But at this point, I think that Chris Grant and Dan Gilbert have given Cavs fans enough to believe in, at this point going
Well, at least
forward.
Gilbert has shown he will spend.
Right.
That's, maybe an issue in some other sports, but that one isn't an issue. Whether they can spend on the right things might be interesting. We talked about the Heat before, and Scott, we might have talked about this last time you were here. Arguably, if you go by what people said about the Cavaliers last year, not winning it, they did win 66 2 years ago and 61 the following year. You could argue, I mean, it would be a silly argument, but you could say, well, Miami didn't put the right guys around them either, which is hard to believe when you have Bosh and Wade. But I guess my point is they really did put the right guys around them. It just, somebody quit in Game 5.
Are we getting to the point where we don't know if anyone would ever be the right guy to put around him?
With that guy?
I mean, he's such a person and a player unto himself that there might not be anyone to put around him. I mean, you surround him with role players, guys who can shoot, the Daniel Marshalls, the Damon Joneses, right, and it doesn't work. You surround him with all-stars, and I mean, Dwayne Wade's going to be a Hall of Famer,
right? And
it's still not enough. It's always going to be something with him, I think, and whether or not he can get there by himself, I guess remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I think you can make when you said at what point do we say that? I'd say if they don't win this year, next year, you'd have to say that.
Okay, Boston did it with 3. I guess the Lakers did it with 2 plus whomever you want to put in there with them, right. Derek Fisher, Robert Horry, whomever. If Chris Bosh, if they have 3 All-Stars, if they can't get it done, Mike Bibby can give you, he can give you one of those Ray for Alston, Orlando Magic, 20 points, right, out of nowhere type games, and that should be enough to get it done. The center is going to be an issue, but yes, they have Z. Joel Anthony can, block a few shots, pull down a few rebounds. 3 All-Stars, 2 potential Hall of Famers should get the job done.
And I guess what I'm saying is it was unfair to rip the Cavaliers for putting what they put around them, because I think we would all agree there was enough around them.
Oh, I
agree.
Think so.
There was. And you can even start looking at LeBron right now and the fact that in the offseason when he went there, you thought that he was going to be able to make it work because he was going to try to be Magic Johnson, right, play the point guard. But he refused to play point guard, thus creating issues on offense. So.
Yeah, the other thing we kept hearing when he was here is that guys wanted to come here and play with him. I'm not so sure. I know he went down to play with Wade, and Wade wanted him and all that. I'm not sure guys would want to come to play around him for all the reasons you're talking about.
Derrick Rose said he didn't want him to come to Chicago, right, in the summer. So, I mean, I think you got a point there.
Yeah. Let's continue on. Sonny is in Cleveland. Hi, Sonny.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to commend the Cavs on the way they played even after LeBron James left. The Cavaliers still played as hard as they possibly could.
Not every night, Sonny. Not every night.
You don't think so?
No, I know so. And they know so.
I kind of think they played as much as they could, as hard as they could, with what they had.
All right, hold on. Let's respond to that.
Well, I think they grew as the season went along. I think I think it's true. You know, we all saw them play on December 2nd and get embarrass us and embarrass themselves.
And other games after that.
And other games after that, of course. But I think the fact that they played hard at the end of the season says a whole lot for Byron Scott and the players who were playing at down the stretch for the Cavs.
Some playing for their NBA lives.
Yeah, I get with that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Anything else, Sonny?
Just to say that I think they are only, based on what we saw in the last part of the season, I believe there are only maybe 1 or 2 players against being competitors in the playoff games at the end of the season next year. And one of them, I believe, is a true, legitimate center.
Well, there aren't a lot of guys around like that you're just going to pick up. Thanks, Sonny. Good to talk to you. You're talking about older guys here, what I'm about to talk about, but let's assume that these guys will still be on the team. If you have Baron Davis and you have Varejao coming back, who's not old, and you have Jamison back along with Hickson, and maybe you get Kyrie Irving. Is there something wrong that I'm missing about that team, that base of that team?
What kind of offense do you run? I mean, you have a center who's not an offensive option. You have a power forward who doesn't necessarily play under the hoop. So who's going to score in the post for you there? I mean, there's a lot.
Well, how many teams have a post guy?
Whether it be a power forward or a power forward playing center, I think a decent amount.
Most of them have one?
I would say so. I mean, but then you have a situation like New York where they have a max contract post guy and they get bounced.
Right, but do you see why Byron Scott has been successful at other places after terrible first years and then moves into the second with a quality point guard, whether it's Jason Kidd or Chris Paul? I mean, if he gets Irving and he has a healthy Baron Davis, I mean, I think the NBA has changed. You need that post-up guy, I guess, but I think point guard is the NBA these days.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, but I still think you need the threat of a post game. And as of right now, Samardo Samuels is high efficiency, but I mean, is he going to be your post threat? And the thing is with the draft, a lot of these guys that are your Cantors, your Biombos, your Vesleys, they're going to be big men, but they're still pretty raw on the offensive end. So I don't know if there's anybody in this draft right now that could take that post presence to the next level. Let's
take a break. We're going to come back one more time. Waitingfornextyear.com, the website to go to. Booksforless.com. Terry Pluto's books, Dan Coughlin, the late Hal Lebovitz, anybody else with Gray & Company, go to authors when you go to booksforless.com. Save 25% off the bookshelf price or the Amazon.com price. Then move on over to diningforless.com. You can't beat this. $50 gift cards for $15. Not many left. So you want to check that out right now. Great restaurants like Naya Bistro, which is in Highland Heights on Wilson Mills. Alfonso's in Middleburg Heights, great Italian food. And Crooked River Grill, that's down in Monroe Falls. And as soon as we get rid of all of those, we'll bring up some new restaurants to diningforless.com. We'll come back one more time. Brought to you by McDonald's Restaurants of Northeast Ohio, and I'm loving it.